Well, basically, the house was originally known as Bonitas House Youth Services, founded back in 1956, and then became a residence for displaced youth in around 1961 or 2, and has continued some of that work all through the years. Then over the years we developed different apostles, like working with undocumented immigrants, people who had, got trapped in the country, were trying to do the best they could for themselves. A multiplicity of different young people, and later on in years, as the different social needs of the community changed, we adjusted to meet the needs of the community at a given time. At the moment now, we give hospitality to students from all over the world and across the country, like a student in the National Hostel, but still doing the same that we always did, outreach to some of the young men that were with us years ago. And our motto basically would be propose rather than impose ideas on people. We're completely kaleidoscopic, interdenominational, and although strictly Catholic in the sense we are Eastern Catholic, known as the Melkite Greek Catholics, but the bulk of our work has been among people of the Western Church, Roman Catholic, various types of Protestantism. Well, our house here is very broad and open in scope. We would consider ourselves very Catholic in the sense of the word universal. Presently now in residence here, there's a young man of Puerto Rican origin, there's a student from Sweden, there's a young man from Virginia, kind of middle class mixture. Parents are a mixture of Slavic and that. There's my foster son is from Thailand. Another young man here is of either Russian or Slavonic background or something, and we've one young Irishman. So just in the staff alone, there's quite a mixture. And then people will come. We don't advertise. We're not listed in any specific directories, but word of mouth goes out very, very quickly. And we attempt to we're a non-for-profit a non-commercial non-for-profit. We don't put a premium on if somebody can't afford for whatever we might be offering, we'll accommodate. And then people could come. Primarily now, of late, we try to cater to the homeless youth and students. And we find it's a wonderful kind of exchange. There's a colossal amount of want in the midst of plenty. This neighbourhood alone, for example, we have a very large number of university students going to NYU, various colleges around. The bulk of them, I would say 99% of them, are out-of-towners from God knows where. The local kids couldn't afford it. So in a way, the city has failed the inner city youth, just as it's today failing inner city people, ordinary working people who their roots are in Manhattan, and rentals and so on should be such they should be allowed to remain where their roots are. This. Most Roman Catholics, and I love the Roman Catholic Church. I love the fact, and I am proud of the fact they're raised, educated through my high school years and part of my college and part of my philosophy and theology in the Roman Catholic Western Church. I would say the basic thing that distinguishes is our ecclesiology and our theology. The theology of the East is, as I would describe it, as uplifting, resurrectional. You don't see crucifixes all over the place. You'd see the risen Christ. We emphasize resurrection. We emphasize a form of a word we use is theosis, union with God through contact with the spiritual and with our icons and with the people of God. We are less legalistic. A famous Eastern Rite canonist wrote a book it said, Ex Orient Lux, Ex Occident Lex. Out of the East came light, out of the West came law. I would say we're less legalistic. And in our tradition of the Eastern Church, only since the late 70s in this country, but throughout the world, always had a married clergy. in Lebanon, Jordan, and fully part of the Catholic Church, in union with the Holy Father of Rome. Our previous patriarchs, up until the second last one, some of them were cardinals of the Roman Catholic Church, as well as being the patriarchs of the Eastern churches. Many people are not aware that celibacy was only introduced into the Roman Catholic Church in the, I think, 13th century. Prior to that, most of the countries of Europe and Eastern Europe and all of the Middle East had a married clergy. All of the apostles, I think, with the exception of maybe one, John, as far as I know, were married men. Gospel is very clear that Peter went to take care of his mother-in-law. So marriage, the celibacy idea never became totally ingrained in the East. It became a utilitarian need in the Western Church, because land's been given to a priest, passed on to his children, where indeed they were meant for the church and not for the individual. Okay? So, celibacy became a sacred cow in the West, which was a little bit patronizing towards the rest of the world, Eastern Europe, which always had a viable and working married clergy, whether they were in union with Rome or not. Another important thing to remember, the average Eastern Rite priest, whether it be Ukrainian, Melkite, Ruthenian, a Greek Catholic, we don't have many schools, like in the Roman Catholic Church. So the pastor does not have to be a school administrator. He doesn't have all the kaleidoscopic duties that the average Roman Catholic priest would have. So he's relieved enough. Then the other thing is, we do not have as a practice, in the West they call it daily Mass. We refer to our ceremony of the Eucharist, our Eucharistic celebration, as the Divine Liturgy. The Orthodox priest normally, except in a monastic setting, will say the Divine Liturgy only once a week, whereas the Roman Catholic priest would celebrate daily, where we would have maybe 10 parishes in 4 or 5 states. Roman Church could have 400 or 500 parishes. And so you could understand why in a big broader place like St. Bridget's or wherever, a married clergy didn't fit into the overall structure of the Western Church in many, many, many years. And that's why Rome is still very much opposed to the concept of a married clergy today. The only exception they make now would be if a Lutheran or a Anglican or other high church person applied to leave their church and become Roman Catholic, they could continue ministering as priests and have their family with them. So if it can work in a limited way, many of us would say, why can't it work in general? And in many situations in third world countries, Africa and others, there are priests coming in, but it's a fact that many of them have a woman on the side or something. And it's going to be a problem. And the time may come in the church where they'll have to choose between sacrament and celibacy.